In the dim glow of a luxury hotel lobby where crystal chandeliers cast shimmering patterns across marble floors, a woman stepped through the revolving doors one stormy evening. Her presence was unassuming at first glance. Dark skin glowing under the rain-slicked coat, her posture straight but weary from travel. She approached the front desk with a quiet confidence, requesting the cheapest room available, the kind tucked away in the back corridors, far from the opulent views and amenities. The manager, a man with a polished uniform and a smirk that revealed more than words ever could, eyed her up and down. His gaze lingered too long, laced with unspoken judgments formed in an instant, assumptions about worth, about place, about who deserved what in this world of hierarchies. As he processed her request, his tone shifted from professional to condescending, his words dripping with a false politeness that masked deeper disdain. He handed over the keycard with a flourish as if bestowing a favor upon someone unworthy. Little did he know, this woman carried a secret that would unravel his carefully constructed world. The air thickened with unspoken tension, the kind that promised a reckoning. What if the person you dismissed was the very force that could upend everything you held dear? The storm outside raged on, but inside, a different tempest was brewing, one rooted in the shadows of prejudice, ready to expose the fragility of ignorance. The woman's eyes met his for a brief moment, holding a depth he couldn't fathom. She turned away, heading to her assigned room, but the seeds of injustice had been sown. Viewers, imagine the weight of being judged not by your actions, but by the color of your skin. How far would that push someone before the truth erupted? Elara Thompson had always navigated the world with a quiet resilience, forged in the fires of a life marked by barriers others couldn't see. Born in a small southern town where opportunities were as scarce as unbiased glances, she had risen through sheer determination. Now in her mid-40s, Elara was the CEO of a burgeoning tech firm specializing in hospitality software, her innovations quietly revolutionizing the industry. Yet she chose to travel incognito, booking modest accommodations to experience the raw truth of service without the veil of privilege. This particular trip brought her to the Grand Meridian Hotel, a towering beacon of luxury in the heart of a bustling metropolis, known for its 5-star ratings and elite clientele. The hotel stood as a symbol of excess, grand arches framing the entrance, valet attendants in crisp uniforms scurrying about, and a lobby that smelled of fresh orchids and old money. It was a place where the wealthy escaped the ordinary, but beneath the surface lurked the same societal undercurrents that plagued everyday life. Elara arrived late that night, her flight delayed by the storm, her simple attire, a tailored blazer over jeans, doing little to announce her status. She had selected this hotel deliberately, having heard whispers of inconsistencies in guest treatment, rumors that aligned with her own experiences of subtle exclusions. At the desk stood Marcus Hale, the night manager, a man in his 50s who had climbed the ranks through years of service but carried the weight of unexamined biases. His face, lined with the fatigue of long shifts, often twisted into expressions that revealed his inner world, a world where appearances dictated value. As Elara stated her reservation for the economy room, the cheapest option buried in the fine print of the website, Marcus's demeanor shifted. He typed slowly into the computer, his eyes flicking over her features, registering her melanin-rich skin as a signal for downgraded expectations. Why would someone like her choose this hotel? His mind wandered, assumptions piling up like unchecked baggage. Elara sensed it immediately. The slight hesitation in his movements, the way his smile didn't reach his eyes. It was a familiar sting, one she had felt in boardrooms and boutiques alike. But she remained composed, her curiosity piqued. What would unfold here, in this bastion of supposed equality? The lobby hummed with activity, guests in designer clothes sipping cocktails, oblivious to the quiet drama at the desk. Elara accepted the key, her mind already mapping the potential flaws in the system, unaware that this encounter would test the limits of her patience and expose the hotel's underbelly. As Elara made her way to the elevator, the weight of Marcus's gaze followed her like a shadow, He turned to a colleague behind the desk, muttering under his breath about certain guests who didn't belong in such refined spaces. It was a comment born from years of ingrained stereotypes, where skin color equated to socioeconomic status in his mental ledger. The economy room awaited her on the lower floors, a cramped space with thin walls and a view of the alley dumpster, far removed from the suites above, where floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline. Settling in, Elara unpacked her laptop, connecting to the hotel's Wi-Fi to review her company's latest project, an AI-driven system designed to detect and mitigate bias in guest services. Irony hung heavy in the air as she experienced firsthand the very issues her software aimed to address. The room's air conditioner hummed erratically, and when she called down to report it, Marcus's voice on the line carried a dismissive edge. Maintenance would handle it when possible, he said, prioritizing requests from higher-paying guests. Hours passed without resolution, the discomfort amplifying her frustration. The next morning, Elara ventured to the hotel's cafe for breakfast. Seated at a corner table, she observed the dynamics around her, waitstaff fawning over white patrons in business attire, while a group of black tourists nearby waited longer for service. When her order arrived incorrect, the server brushed it off with a hurried apology, contrasting sharply with the attentive corrections made for others. Elara's mind raced, connecting these moments to broader patterns she had studied, implicit biases leading to unequal treatment, from room assignments to amenity access. She decided to test the waters further, requesting a late checkout at the front desk. Marcus was there again, his shift overlapping into the day. He reviewed her request with exaggerated scrutiny, questioning why she needed the extension for such a basic room. His tone implied she was overstepping, as if her presence itself was an imposition. "We have standards here," he remarked casually, but the subtext was clear. Standards that seemed flexible based on appearance. Elara felt the familiar burn of anger tempered by years of strategic restraint. She pressed on, inquiring about an upgrade, only to be met with a curt explanation of unavailability, despite the hotel's low occupancy that week. Tension mounted as the day progressed. Elara attended virtual meetings from her room, her firm's board discussing acquisitions, including a potential buyout of the Grand Meridian's parent chain. Unbeknownst to Marcus, her company held significant leverage. Meanwhile, small injustices accumulated. Housekeeping skipped her room, the gym attendant eyed her suspiciously, and a security guard trailed her in the lobby. Each incident chipped away at her composure, building an emotional storm. She documented it all, her notes growing into a damning record of systemic racism disguised as policy. By evening, the stakes heightened. Elara received an urgent email. Her firm had greenlit the acquisition, positioning her as a key decision-maker. But the personal toll weighed heavily. Memories of past discriminations flooded back, from childhood rejections to professional slights. The hotel, once a neutral space, now felt like a microcosm of society's flaws. Marcus, oblivious, continued his routine, assigning premium services to guests who fit his narrow view of deserving. The air crackled with impending confrontation, the injustice no longer subtle but a roaring undercurrent threatening to overflow. As night fell, Elara paced her room, the faulty AC a constant reminder. She knew change required exposure, but at what cost to her own spirit? The emotional stakes soared. Would she endure in silence or ignite the spark that could dismantle the facade? The breaking point arrived the following morning, as Elara descended to the lobby for checkout. The space buzzed with activity, guests milling about under the chandeliers. Marcus stood at the desk, exuding his usual authority, when Elara approached with her keycard. Before she could speak, he launched into a preemptive lecture about additional charges for extended use, his voice laced with accusation. It was the final straw, the culmination of days of accumulated slights. Elara's demeanor shifted from reserved to resolute. She pulled out her phone, displaying an email chain that revealed her identity, not just as a guest, but as the incoming stakeholder in the hotel's ownership group. Her firm had finalized the acquisition overnight, granting her oversight authority. Marcus's face drained of color as he scanned the screen, the realization crashing over him like the storm that had heralded her arrival. The lobby seemed to hush, though no one else yet understood the shift. In that moment, the injustice peaked. Years of unchecked bias confronted by undeniable truth. Marcus stammered, his authority crumbling, as Elara calmly outlined the documented instances of discrimination, the delayed maintenance, the subpar service, the underlying assumptions tied to her race. The emotional intensity surged. Elara's voice, though steady, carried the weight of countless similar experiences. Marcus's defensiveness flared briefly, but it wilted under the evidence, exposing the fragility of his prejudices. The climax unfolded in waves, Elara demanding an immediate upgrade to the penthouse suite as a symbolic rectification, while notifying corporate of his conduct. Staff nearby exchanged glances, the atmosphere electric with the fallout. Marcus's world inverted. The woman he had mocked now held his professional fate. The drama reached its zenith as security, ironically the same guard who had shadowed her, escorted him aside for a private discussion. Elara stood tall, the lobby's grandeur now a backdrop to her empowerment, the tension releasing in a cathartic rush. With Marcus suspended pending investigation, Elara moved into the penthouse suite, a sprawling space with panoramic views, plush furnishings, and every amenity imaginable. It was more than an upgrade. It symbolized the overturning of unjust hierarchies. Hotel management, alerted by her report, initiated swift changes, bias training programs, revised service protocols, and integration of her company's AI software to monitor fairness. Whispers spread among staff, fostering a ripple of awareness that extended beyond the building's walls. Elara's experience, though painful, fueled her resolve. She shared anonymized details in industry forums, inspiring reforms in other chains. Personally, she reflected on the journey, from the worst room to the suite, not as revenge, but as a testament to resilience. The emotional scars lingered, but they transformed into strength, reminding her that visibility could dismantle invisibility. In the days that followed, the Grand Meridian began to evolve, its lobby now a space of genuine inclusivity. Elara departed with a sense of closure, her story a quiet victory against the pervasive shadows of racism. What if one act of courage could rewrite the rules for many? In a world quick to judge, remember, true worth lies beyond appearances. Let's challenge assumptions, foster empathy, and build spaces where everyone claims their rightful place. Share your thoughts. Has prejudice ever underestimated you?